All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today I am back here with another video. A special guest with me. I have Jason Myrtetus, the host of Flyers Daily, and obviously everybody knows Jason does unbelievable work. Jason, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I'm excited to talk with you.
No problem, man. I'm getting to that point, like in the summer, and look, the cup hasn't even been handed out yet, right? But I'm getting to that point. You know, the calendar flips to July. First of all, I'm pissed off because I can't stand the heat anymore. Like, I'm done with the heat and the humidity. I'm just done. I just want to get back into a rink. And the other thing is you know, they have the Flyers basically, when their season ended, it was like May 12th or whatever, I think. Right. And that's basically like going to 2 rounds of the playoffs, right? Because it's a month beyond the first week of April when they normally end. So it's shorter, but by this point in the summer, I'm kind of chomping at the bit for them to get back. But I guess what I'm chomping at the bit to get the cup handed out, because I think this offseason is going to be fascinating. And like, once we get to the offseason, I feel like that's the beginning of the season, right?
Exactly. Right.
So much is going to be determined. And we're going to have a little bit of a down period from like mid-August or third week of August.
Probably right after free agency ends, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'll have like a week of free agency frenzy and guys kind of dribbling at the end of it. You know, the big names off the board early, and then you know, by like, you know, the first, or you know, by mid-August, we'll probably have about a month of really sleepy time.
Yeah,
but it won't be that sleepy because players start coming back in at the end of August and start skating. You know, with captain's practices and stuff. So there's not going to be a lot of time, and so I'm looking forward to it. It's like, let's just get on with the off season here because there's so much to be determined.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing too. I mean, when you look at it, there's so many questions around the Flyers right now. It's like, what do they do? Who can they get? And I think that's the perfect place to kind of start this off. Is obviously Seth Jones has been rumored. There's been many things that have gone around. What do the Flyers give up? You know, what other teams are kind of in there, or that are kind of in the mix as well. But Jason, just to kind of start off, and I know you're big on Jones. I've read some of your tweets, and you think he'd fit. I think he'll fit as well. I just kind of want to get your thoughts on kind of those people that are looking maybe too much at his numbers, because I know that there's been a lot of people that are maybe looking way too much at his numbers, maybe looking at his defensive partner Werenski kind of the same way. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, first, you know, when you talk about the numbers, you're talking about the analytics. You know, the first thing about that is, look, I think analytics have a place. I think they're valuable, but I don't think they should be religion.
And, no, I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, they tell a story. They tell an element of a story. Whether you believe that's a third, whether you believe that's 50%, whether you believe it's 90%, or you believe it, the analytics don't lie. That's up to you. That's up to the individual. But and I will tell you that, yeah, while Werenski was on a bad hockey team too in Columbus, and his analytics didn't fall. Well, here, consider this: Werenski's always been an analytic darling, and those are the same analytics that you're, you know, crapping on Seth Jones for are the same ones that tell you that Shane Gostisbehere had a good season. Yeah. So consider that with a grain of salt, right? Yeah. Not only this season, but the prior season, because Corsi and Fenwick and this and that and all this stuff. Well, again, I think it has a place. You have to remember that your eyes do not lie to you. No. Seeing a good hockey player oftentimes will tell you the analytics, but sometimes there's outliers. And Seth Jones, you know, the eyes tell you that he wasn't great either.
Like, when I look at it as the numbers should be kind of like the backup of your eye test. And it should be, you know, what are your thoughts are, and then you kind of look at the numbers, or you can use them hand in hand too. But I think there's a lot of people out there that have kind of looked at Jones, and they kind of look at it as like they're really heavy on the numbers. And it seems like if you talk to them any sort of way, it's very heavy on the numbers and not so much of what he does.
Well, those people, the reason why is because those people view the game through that lens. And that, look, that's their prerogative. I get it. You know, it kind of started with Moneyball and baseball and the analytics and predictive analysis, right? And it came into hockey, which is a much less predictable sport than baseball. And it's in all sports now to some degree. But, you know, there are people that just, you know, to me, that there's a lack of feel to it. You know, there's things you can't measure with analytics. You cannot measure a guy's impact on the ice in the way he makes someone feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or fear or comfort.
Yeah.
You can't measure those. They're not measurable.
Yeah.
With analytics or any other form. So
right.
I think that's
like,
a big part of it.
Yeah. Honestly, I've always looked at that too. I mean, like if I look at numbers, and I'm not really a big numbers guy, like I'll look at them. I don't really understand much of the advanced stuff. I do for the most part, but some of it is just too advanced. And I'll look at it and I'll be like, all right, well, what position was the guy put in? You know, who was he playing with at the time? Has he battled injury? Like all this stuff. Like, you know, how was the team doing? Like, what was the recent stint of the team? Whatever. So that I completely understand. But one thing I want to ask about Jones is if there was any other defenseman besides Jones out there, who would you want the Flyers to try to pursue?
Well, there's a good amount of guys that are conceivably available.
Yeah.
Real quick on Jones, let me just wrap up on this real because I got to say this because it drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't like to measure things on social media and on Twitter. I don't because it's a vocal minority of foolishness oftentimes. Look, if you have concerns about Jones, totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't say Jones has had 2 down years or Jones had a down year, so we can't trade this guy for him.
Yeah, I've seen it like 3 down years in a row. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean it's trending, but you can't say that and say, hey, but we can't trade Travis Konechny for him because he's had 3 down years. Well, didn't Konechny have a playoff where he didn't score? Didn't Konechny have a really down erratic year this year? I mean, he was healthy scratched.
Yeah,
at times he scored in bunches, but he didn't score that much.
Yeah.
So why does it apply that Seth Jones's down year is a predictor of the future, but for Travis Konechny, it doesn't? It's because we're emotional about our own players.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to really look at it through a proper lens, remove emotion from all participants. It's difficult to do. But as far as other guys, I mean, obviously Dougie Hamilton's out there.
Yeah, right.
And Dougie Hamilton's a really good player. There's some red flags in his game, the fact that he's been with 3 teams, the whole thing. But, I mean, he's an offensive play-driving top defenseman.
Yeah.
Like I feel Seth Jones is. He's probably better than Jones. I understand that. He's played better than Jones the last couple of years, but he's also playing on the Carolina Hurricanes with Rob Brind'Amour as the coach and a ton of structure. Yeah. And while especially I believe Tortorella. Yeah, I mean, I think Tortorella is a really good coach, and there's a lot of structure there. That team's been falling apart, and it's really difficult on players. I think when everybody with upper end of the chain talent leaves, and that's what's been going on in Columbus. Yeah. So Hamilton, I think, is when Elliot Friedman said that he's not the Flyers' top target, a lot of people freaked out. Like he's not a target. He's still a target. There's a lot 100%. Of balls there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think he's in play. I think he's
like the market or more is going for him.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too is I've mentioned this a bunch is one of the reasons why Jones may be a couple of reasons why a guy like Jones or even Ryan Ellis or Oliver. I doubt Oliver Ekman-Larsson, but other defensemen that you have to trade for are more of an option for the Flyers is because in a trade you can send money. Mm-hmm. You're not dumping bad contracts. You're not sending Dale Weiss. But you have to loosen up some money. And whether that's Travis Konechny or whoever, you can send money in that deal. Plus, I think that if there's a deal for Jones, I just have this sneaking suspicion that it's not just him that's coming here.
Yeah.
That there's someone else along with him.
Yeah, because I've also heard that there's been like rumblings of like, I saw Korpisalo, which could make sense if the Flyers they do need a backup goaltender.
I've been talking about Korpisalo since the Flyers season. I started talking about. I'd gotten a tip way back.
It honestly might have because I just saw it as like one of like a cropped out article, but I'm not too sure honestly.
I mean, I got a tip about Jones back in March that he wasn't going to re-sign there, and like I was like, okay, whatever, Right. And I put it out there at that time. I'm trying to even find the tweet. I'll dig it up, but I put it out there in March that hey, he might be an option to help the Flyers fill the Niskanen role because Niskanen's not coming back, whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, Hamilton's obviously an option. There's other guys. I think David Savard pending what they lose to Seattle, what they give up in a trade if they were to acquire a Jones or somebody else, determines where they go. There's all these different, ways as the cards stack up or fall, that will determine which ways they go.
Yeah. Right.
So there's a lot of variables here. What I feel like I do know with 100% certainty is that Chuck is in on a ton of conversations.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like it seems, is it me or does it seem like there's a lot of people out there that like he's not doing anything? Like he's like sleeping or something.
Well, yeah.
Because there aren't rumblings.
Because there's so much happening right now.
Right.
Right. Those people need to just delete your account. Like, Chuck's asleep at the wheel. He hasn't done anything yet. Well, the offseason hasn't started.
No.
And teams really aren't going to make a lot of these moves in advance of an expansion draft. It's going to be a real special circumstance to do that.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah.
And I've said it for a while. I think a lot of what he's been doing has been leading up to the expansion draft. And especially now with what happens with the team, I think a lot of it's going to happen as soon as the expansion draft ends, very close to, obviously the draft is, 2 days later. So that's when I think most of the stuff is going to, start to fall for the Flyers.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a domino effect. You're just going to see one deal happen, and then the result of that deal is going to be other deals happening and contingency plans, and there's going to be tons of that. I think there's going to be a lot of movement this offseason because teams didn't really get that opportunity to reset their roster last year like they're used to doing. Yeah. With all the uncertainty and the expansion draft, there were just so many variables. It was weird, but
exactly.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So kind of just going off of that, I know there's been a lot of talk of you brought it up with connecting. Who do they trade? Farabee. I just got to get your thoughts on that.
Well, look, I'm not looking to trade Joel Farabee. I'm not.
Right. Especially after he just had one of his. He was your best rookie.
Yeah. I mean, he had a great year. He really did. I mean. But let's not act like it was a Connor McDavid year. Like people gotta calm down.
He had a good year.
Yeah, I mean when I was doing my radio show,
he was scoring bunches.
I said that Rhys Hoskins wasn't untouchable, and people freaked out on me. I'm like, yeah, he had a nice year, but it's not like he's Mike Trout. You know what I mean? And Farabee's really good. And again, I'm not looking to move him, but here's the fact of the matter when it comes to Farabee. I put this out the other day because somebody said, "Oh, Farabee's untouchable." I said, well, first of all, he's a winger. So he's not untouchable because a top pairing right side, right shot D is 1,000 times more valuable. You can find a Farabee. It's hard to find.
The Flyers have many wings too, so it's not
the right wings too.
Right,
but Farabee last year, great season. Right, we know he got to 20 goals in 55 games. He went pointless in 31 of those 55 games. No points.
Yeah,
multiple point games 10 times in the season. He had one 4-point game that was the opening game of the year against Pittsburgh.
He had a hat trick.
And he had the assist as well. He had 3-point games and 6 2-point games. 1-7. He had 1-7, 1-6, and 2 game point droughts all during the season. So he went 7 games once, 6 games, and 2 multiple times. So, that's not an untouchable player. And what people got to realize is, like, you don't just go, hey, I'm going to go shopping for a diamond ring and I'll pay him, with, what I got in my piggy bank from my change drawer. That's not how you get value. You got to give up something to get something.
Right.
And the other thing is what I know for sure in today's NHL now, in just a couple of days or this week, maybe even, it's going to be a 32 team league. It's harder than ever. Parity is everywhere. It's harder to win. It's harder to get through. It's harder to make the playoffs. It's harder to get through in the playoffs. It's not the 22-team league it once was where you just buy your way there by grabbing every free agent because you have no cap. It's totally different. So, I mean, hence why Montreal's in the final as the 18th ranked team in the league. They finished a point better than the Flyers. Yeah. But you have to incur risk to go to that next level. And if you play it safe, you are mired in mediocrity. If you want to do great things, you have to incur risk. Paul Holmgren incurred risk when he went and grabbed Chris Pronger at that draft. He traded a lot of pieces for him. Lucas Spiza, Joffrey Lupul. There was a lot of pieces there. They got him to a cup final. They lost it. They got to a cup final, though, because of that deal. And then he ended up getting hurt and his career was over. And that mitigated the issue as well. But there was risk there. Now, that's Chris Pronger. I'm not saying Seth Jones or Dougie Hamilton. It's Chris Pronger.
Right. It's Chris Pronger, right?
Yeah. But still, if you want to become a great team, you have to incur risk.
Yeah. No, and I 100% agree. I mean, if you look at some of the times where the Flyers were most aggressive, I mean, it was back when they got Briere,
Hartnell teaming in.
Hartnell, yeah, they got all them, and then getting Yager a couple years later, and then as you said before with Pronger too. I think I 100% agree. I think that's the way the Flyers have to be, because if they don't, then I think we're looking at a completely different thing that I don't even want to, bring up right at the moment, because it would just be 10 times worse than what it really is right now. But
that's the other thing too. Like you watched the season, like we all watched it. Like it's so glaringly obvious they need a top pair right side, right shot defenseman.
Yeah,
I mean, and let's not act like, for the analytic people too. I hate to pivot back to it, but Matt Niskanen, when they acquired him, his analytics stink. He's he's this, he's that. Look at the effect he had on the team. Mm-hmm. He is not the player that Seth Jones is. Not even close. But look at the effect he had on Ivan Provorov with consistency in partner and being able to calm a game down, play the minutes. That's what he brought. Now you got a guy that can calm the game down, play the minutes, play the part, and is a better player and complements Provorov. I don't see how that's a bad idea. I really don't.
No, I don't either.
I mean, they can take the analytics and shove them up their keister.
100% agree. And kind of just go off that too. If the Flyers were to get Jones, what would your ideal package be?
I mean, I think there's no deal unless you sign an extension.
Right. So, that's the thing. Yeah. Because I look at it like this, like I'm not giving, because I put out a tweet the other day. I'm not sure if you saw it. You might have. I said Sanheim, a second round pick, and Linus Hoiberg. It's a roster player, a pick, and a prospect.
Not going to get it done.
Right. And I know
that's enough.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I was kind of thinking, well, maybe if he doesn't sign an extension, I think that's a lot if he doesn't sign an extension. But
you're saying if he doesn't sign an extension? Yeah, I'm not giving up Sanheim if he's not signing an extension.
No, right. I'm
just not into it for a rental. I'm not.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing, because I think you kind of have to look at what Columbus needs back too, because anything from the Flyers roster, I think is Columbus is like, oh, you know what I mean? So.
Well, this is, and I listened to Pierre LeBrun on NHL Network Radio yesterday, and he brought this up. He said the thing that sets the Flyers apart when dealing with Columbus is that Columbus wants players, young, under 24-year-old NHL players too, as part of the deal. And the Flyers are a team that has that, and they have prospects and picks. So, I mean, I think you're looking at, a top 9 winger, whether that's Konechny. I try and steer them off of Farabee. I don't want to give up Konechny either, but you got to give something to get something. I think that first round pick is probably gone. I think it would. I think that push it to next year.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that pick is gone regardless of any defenseman they try to get. Honestly,
maybe I think that they could have that pick this year, but not next year.
Yeah,
because they feel like they'll move up too, and that pick will be in the 20s next year.
Right, exactly.
Or at least late teens. So
that's the thing, you have to hope.
Yeah, and then I think you're looking at a prospect going.
Maybe like a Zamula, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Zamula. They're not going to. I mean, they're really going to do everything they can to avoid losing Cam York.
Right.
So I think Zamula would be a guy that could go. I mean, it could be Phil Myers as another younger player as well. They're going to ask for Sanheim, but I would steer him to Myers.
You think Myers in a first could work?
More. You got to go more. Yeah, go one more piece, significant piece.
Yeah.
If you're signing him to an extension,
right?
Because you're going to want to know that before. They're not going to want conditional trade.
Yeah. Because it's the thing. I don't want to do it if he's not signing an extension. Like if we want him, I mean, he's going into the prime years of his career. I want him for all of that.
Well, I can't risk a Band-Aid. I don't want to do a Band-Aid again. We did the Band-Aid with Matt Niskanen, and he retired. That's just right. I'm totally fine with it. But I don't want to do it again. I want to solve the problem for 7 years.
100% agree.
That way you can do that with a guy like Jones.
Right. And I guess kind of just to get off of that, obviously Seattle is one of the big things that's coming up. How do you think this is going to work out for the Flyers? Who do you think they protect? Who do you think it's unprotected? And what kind of method do you think they do?
Well, they're going 7-3-1.
Right.
I think for sure. And we'll get that list coming up on the 17th of exactly who everybody protects. And I think it's going to be really interesting. Like who's not protected on every team, I think, is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's pretty much, to me, it's pretty chalk of who they're going to protect.
Right.
Because I mean, you have to protect Giroux, you have to protect Hayes. They both have 4 no-move clauses. Hayes' will expire after this year. It was basically put in place for the expansion draft.
Right.
So those 2 are going to be protected for the Flyers up front. I think that they're going to protect Konechny because he's a valuable asset. They're going to protect at forward Oscar. They're going to protect Lawton for sure. Couturier, obviously. They're going to protect Nolan Patrick because you just don't want to, even though it's been underwhelming to say the least, he is a 2nd overall pick. You'd rather get you can maybe do something with him. So he'll be protected. So, I mean, I think the guys that are available, I mean, you're looking at JVR, you're looking at Jake, you're looking at Nicholas Aube-Kubel, those kind of guys. So, you could be in the business of trying to sweeten the deal to get them to take a contract like Voracek's. But, I mean, to me, I'm going, take who you take. I'll deal with that later. I know everybody wants to jettison Jake out of here. Yeah. But let's not forget, I mean, the guy led the team in scoring.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and I 100% agree. I mean, I think they have to go into it. And I know Bill Meltzer said this before. It's like, this is our list. Like, this is who you can take. This is who we're protecting, and that's that. Because I think
don't exacerbate the pain.
Yeah, because I think the Flyers just want to get it over with and kind of get on to what they, you know what I mean. So
well, I will tell you this. I think I was talking to Bill, and he was telling the story that when they were dealing with Las Vegas wanted to like pry somebody else away from them, and they were threatening, "Oh, we're going to take this guy, we're going to take that guy," and they were just like, Taxi was like, "No, I'm not playing these games. Take who you take. You're taking my 11th best player, conceivably, right? 7 forwards, 3D. You're going to take one of my skaters. Go ahead. All right, take one of them." They ended up taking Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. Okay. Whatever. Everybody's going to lose somebody. So
exactly.
I don't know. I don't think that Ghost is the guy that's going to get taken. I think the 3D are obvious. It'll be Myers, Sanheim, and Provorov.
Yeah, probably Sanheim, Myers.
Yeah.
And obviously Carter Hart as well for the goaltender.
He's exempt, isn't he?
Is he?
No, he's not exempt. Hold on one sec. I'm taping Hunt. Hold on one sec, Chris.
You're fine.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. No worries. But yeah, I kind of think I've always kind of thought that they would go 7-3-1 unless they made that defenseman trade beforehand and then have to go the 8 skaters and then protect that other day if they were to get Jones before the expansion, which could still happen, but I have no idea.
Well, if you get Jones before the expansion draft, one of those deals will probably be gone.
Yeah, right.
So you're protecting, Jones.
Yeah, so that means maybe they do protect Voracek then. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know you said it earlier, Ekman Larson. Do you think Ekman? Are you not? No. How come?
I'm not real interested. His play's deteriorated. He's going to have such a minimal list. I think he wants to stay out on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. He gave him 2 teams last year. I just don't see it.
Okay. Yeah, because I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. There's been a lot of people that wouldn't. I personally wouldn't mind him. I think he would.
He'd be contract.
With what?
Have you looked at that contract?
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I actually don't know what it is. It's probably pretty high going off of your reaction.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of money for – I just don't think he's the player that signed that contract. I mean, he signed all the way through 26, 27, and the AAV on that deal –
You think they can maybe get him like a Niskanen kind of deal?
No. They're not going to get him. Not for that many years.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at $8.25 million.
Mm-hmm.
No thanks.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah, money. That's the thing. I know there's been a lot of people that have maybe looked at that and said no, which I 100% understand why. I know you did say staying on the West Coast is something. Duncan Keith, that's been one. That's been kind of rumored the last couple of days as Keith could get traded to the West Coast. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he's going to Seattle.
I think he could go to Seattle too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to be.
I was thinking maybe Vancouver.
Yeah, I don't know about Vancouver. He's got a lot of money tied to him, and Vancouver's got a real pickle barrel when it comes to their.
I know they were talking the other day about something with Schmidt. I wonder if he could get flip-flop for Schmidt.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that if I'm Vancouver. Would you?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. But I don't know.
I'm not going to help out Chicago that way.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to free up cap space for them, and I'm going to give them Schmidt. No way. No,
yeah,
I wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing, though. I know there's probably a lot of people that love to see Keith with Quinn Hughes down in or I should say up in Vancouver. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to go to Seattle. I think there's a good chance he'll be their first captain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And speaking of Seattle, Dave Haxtell, what are your thoughts on Haxtell?
I was a little shocked. I think everybody was, because give Ron Francis credit. I mean, nobody got to know even what their color scheme was or their logo before he decided to. He's like Lou Lamoriello, man. He keeps stuff buttoned up, and he had some great diversions, bringing in Rick Tocchet and some big names out there, and Gerard Gallant and other guys, and David Quinn. But he ends up going with Hack. And look, Dave Haxtell is a better coach than a lot of people, Flyer fans give him credit for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ghost had a 65-point season under him.
Voracek had his best season under him.
Yeah, I mean, he did a good job developing some young players too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look, he made some mistakes for sure, and he had some loyalty to guys like Van de Velde and played Laterra.
I think every coach does, though, so that happened.
They like veterans, and they like the guys that they know what they're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
One thing a coach hates in hockey, really in any sport, is the variable of the unknown. You like the known commodity, even if the known commodity isn't as good as the variance in skill. Because I can have a guy that's here and his bottom is here, but I can't. It's harder as a coach for predictability and strategy if the other guy's here, but his basement is down here.
Yeah,
you want those guys with a closer gap for just predictability purposes.
Right.
So, but a lot of times, guys after their first head coaching job, then they go off and they get an assistant gig, and then they get their next chance, and they don't make the same mistake twice. And I think that's what Seattle's banking on.
No, I 100% agree. I think it's been a while since he's been an NHL head coach, since the last beginning of the 18-19 season. So it's been a couple years, and he went over into Toronto with a good team there in the Leafs. A lot of skills. So I think it could pan out, honestly, if I'm being honest with you.
You got a couple of those Flyers teams that was here to the playoffs too, unbelievably.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, honestly, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Jason, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. It was a good time chatting with you.
Oh, no problem, man. Anytime.
All right, guys. So that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I will see you guys in the next one. And goodbye.